Hey, this is Bla Bla Jaws, and I'm Patrik Soderstam. If you like what you see and what you hear, why don't you hit me with a like below? And yeah, subscribe. And if you like, give me a comment. Yeah. Hey, today I will talk about a scene I've done. The scene has my work in it from 2016 up to now, 2021. In 2016, I started to make a project called Skin. And in Skin, I tried to find a way of producing clothing, in this case tops, in a new way. I sort of backed back into the cave. The feeling of making clothing or clothes for the first time again. So the design, the construction of the clothes it's very simple. I will go more into that in later talks, but I really wanted to combine my interests in streetwear and futuristic stuff into the cave. So it's a combination between the cave and the future. And it has a lot to do with also how I can do clothing by myself down in the garage in a DIY process and DIY methods in my own way. So it starts up there in the scene, and then it sort of goes over in other projects. I've done a project where I work a lot with candy trash, like the wrapping paper on candy, where I bring that up from the street and magnify it and look upon it and give it a value. I really like that. I like trashy stuff. And these two projects then sort of evolves together and merge into each other, and I start to do other stuff like more sculptorish stuff that works more like fine art. Sometimes I see it as decoration as well, and yeah, I like to merge different stuff together, different moods, different sort of hierarchies together. So I like merging fine art with trash, fine art with decoration. Yeah, and talk about it where it is in that way, you know, both in doing stuff and thinking and communicating it. So yeah, that's a lot about what's in this scene. Yeah, and I'm going to talk now about the production of the scene. It's very much also a DIY process. I've done the cover of the scene is crafty made. It's handmade with stamps. I hand stamped it with a pattern, and then I've done stamps also for the typography for the blah blah. It comes in two issues, blah blah 1 and blah blah 2. And then every issue is stamped with a number. So the one who gets the scene gets a unique number, and I have not really limited it, but my stuff always gets limited anyway, because I'm not a factory. I can't really do too much, so I will sort of land on from something like 60 to 100 issues samples or whatever you call it for this scene. Yeah. So yeah, the scene also comes then in a plastic bag, and the plastic bag consists of 2 magazines or 2 scenes, and then the plastic bag has a sticker on it as well, and the sticker is also handmade, stamped, and it's a bit mad to stamp your own stickers, but I really like that, so that's also what you get, a handmade sticker. Yes, and there's 2 stripes of aluminium tape on the scene as well, and I like that kind of contrast between the more soft and pastel feeling of the stamp, the pattern, the print, and the more industrial feeling of the more like a high-tech industrial feeling of the tape. And it's also a hint to what's inside the scene, because I work a lot with aluminium foil in my objects. So yeah, more about that later. More about that shininess of the aluminium, the shininess that you can see in the street. All of a sudden something shines up in the trash can. The sun hits the silver, the aluminium, and it looks like a little treasure. But when you look at it closer, you see it's just candy trash. Or the other way around, that you see something that you think that, yeah, that's just trash, and then you look on it closer and take it up in your hand and look at it, and all of a sudden you found a treasure, something that is beautiful, something that is considered trash and something you can throw away. But if you take care of it, look upon it, and magnify it, both in theory and practically, it becomes something totally different, something more. A lot of my work is about that, and I like that thought. To make gold, or in this case silver, out of something that is considered trash, or something similar to trash. Yeah, and about using stamps as a method, as a tool. I think that's really interesting. I like producing things, and using stamps you can produce a limited production that is sort of semi-handmade. So when each stamp you do becomes unique, because you do it with different kind of heaviness, or you use it in a different way, in a different direction, with every stamp becomes unique, and I really like that. And to produce the actual stamp is also something I really like. To I cut out the rubber with a scalpel by hand. Obviously, you can do it by a laser machine as well, but I like doing it by hand, and there's a craft in doing that as well. And then when you have these stamps for each project, you go into this production phase, and then you get sort of choreography in your movement. You put color on in a certain way. You do the stamping in a certain way. You clean up the stamp in a certain way, and all of these ways makes my way of doing it. So I think if someone else would do my scene or print my clothing, it would look totally different in detail, and that is interesting. I don't think that someone else would do it less good, but I would do it in one way and they would do it in another way, and I think that's very interesting. And I think it's very interesting with the smaller production, and I'm not afraid of bigger production in factories and that as well, but this is one way of doing it, which I think is really interesting. There's a lot of things I can talk about when it comes to my craft-based methods and craft-based methods in general. My take on it is to bring craft into contemporary pop culture, to streetwear, and to expressions that is usually done in like a industrial ways, and then do my craft version of it. And there's a lot of things like that going on, but I think that's a very interesting thing. And I think we need both stuff that is made in 10,000 examples and things that are made in maybe 30 examples or issues or whatever it is. I think that also is a way of taking care of our environment, to combine mass-produced stuff with more craft-based stuff. So it's not like we all need to go around looking like me in like craft printed handmade streetwear. We can combine it, style it, and I think styling is something very interesting as well. How you can combine different stuff, different feelings, different issues. So I really think collaging is interesting in a bigger sense, and styling as well. So yeah, this is my way of dealing with getting dressed and looking as I want, but also a way of spreading it, and maybe giving something to others to solve issues like the environment and economical issues and stuff. So yeah, more about this later. Yeah, I think that's it about the production of my scene. I will go into more about what's in the scene in later talks. Yeah, thank you, and I hope you will come back to these talks again. See ya.